Hello, I'm Mercedes Stephenson, and this is the West Block, politics, perspectives, and players. Protests continue in Iraq as people there demand more jobs and an end to government corruption. And on top of this unrest, the recent incursion by Turkey into neighboring Syria that has led many Kurds in the area to flee into Iraq. What is the situation on the ground right now in the Middle East? Earlier, I caught up with Falah Mustafa, the senior foreign policy advisor to the president of the Kurdistan Regional Government in Iraq. Here's that conversation. Falah Mustafa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You are the senior foreign policy advisor to the president of Kurdistan in Iraq. And as a part of that, I can imagine that you must be incredibly busy and seized with the issue of refugees coming across from Syria, especially Kurdish refugees, with the Turkish incursion into Syria. Can you give me a little bit of a picture of what's going on the ground right now in your home?
Well, the Middle East region as a whole is always interesting and exciting because there is a lot going on. But certainly in Kurdistan region, we have received so far around 17,000 refugees who have crossed the border and come to Kurdistan region. And we already have 1.1 million Iraqi internally displaced people and Syrian refugees who were in the region before that. Therefore, this is a huge burden. Although Kurdistan region has opened its door to embrace these people, to provide protection and security, but this is not enough because these people need support and assistance from the international community as well. So therefore, we don't believe that it's over. And unless the international community moves, we will be expecting more people to come there.
Are you concerned about the message that President Trump has sent with praising President Erdogan in terms of his actions, that has set some kind of a precedent that could put the Kurdish people at risk?
Well, we as a people, we have suffered a lot. We have had a tragic past, and we want to have a better future. Of course, our responsibility is in Iraqi part of Kurdistan, and we are responsible for Kurdistan region of Iraq. But certainly, we are concerned about the future of the Kurds in Syria. Since there is no appetite for any other solution, now we believe that everybody has agreed that there needs to be a political settlement of the situation. We hope that the Kurds will have a better future than the past they had in Syria.
You've had a close relationship with the Canadian Special Operations Forces and the Canadian regular military. I know that there are still both forces in that country, Canadian soldiers, but I'm curious to know, what is your relationship like right now with the Canadian government, and do you feel you're getting enough support?
Well, we are grateful for the support that has been provided by the Canadian government in terms of military support, training, capacity building in the past during the fight against ISIS, but also their support, their humanitarian support and assistance to the refugees and IDPs, and also their actions here and also in welcoming refugees, especially for the Yazidis and also the people from Syria. But this is not enough because we do need the support and engagement of our friends and partners around the world. Kurdistan region can be a partner for peace and stability, as we were a partner in the global coalition in the fight against ISIS. We were a partner in welcoming and hosting these refugees and IDPs in Kurdistan region, but also a partner for tolerance and peaceful coexistence among all the communities who are there. In order to do that, we need some strong presence on the ground. We are pleased to have American Embassy, Canadian Embassy office in Erbil, but we look forward to the day that that is upgraded to a full-fledged consulate general when they can provide more support. Technical assistance, capacity building, strengthening our democratic institutions, empowering youth and women, engaging with our civil society, encouraging the private sector investment, and also engaging with our universities. So there is a lot that could be done in order to further develop these ties. Working with our government in the field of reform and reorganizing the Peshmerga ministry and Peshmerga forces, the administrative and financial reform that we have started in ensuring transparency and accountability. So there are means and ways that the Canadian government can work closely with Kurdistan Regional Government in order to do so.
There's been a lot of concern about Iran's increasing influence in Iraq. What are your thoughts on that? What have you observed happening in the country?
I believe one way in order to make sure that Iraq as a whole is sovereign, independent, free, is to ensure that the political system of governance, the security system, the economic system, the social system is strong enough in order to be able to protect itself. But when Iraq as a whole is weak, politically, militarily, economically, then there would be room for interferences. So first and foremost is engagement policy with Iraq in order to build and strengthen its democratic institutions, because we want Iraq to be strong in its democratic institutions, in its respect for human rights, in respect for women's rights, and engagement with all of us. So that's why the more our partners in the international community are engaged with Iraq to make sure that Iraq is strong and can stand on its feet, by that I mean also Kurdistan region, of course, as part of Iraq, then we will be able to deter and stop any interferences. But when Iraq as a whole is weak, then the door is open for interferences.
What is the relationship like right now between Erbil and Baghdad? There was a lot of tension there. Is it improving?
Well, one thing is very clear. After the last elections in Kurdistan region and the rest of Iraq, a new chapter has started between Erbil and Baghdad. And we were very hopeful that we would be able to address the outstanding issues that have been there in order to address them and solve them. It may take some time, but we have found out that there was the desire and willingness from both sides to work together closely to address them. But unfortunately, the October demonstrations have stopped that or have affected that. But certainly the KRG is working closely with Baghdad and Kurdistan region. The president, the prime minister are working with Baghdad in order to address these issues, find solutions. And this would be good for the stability in the country, but also in ensuring that we implement the constitution of the country, which states that the country is a federal country, a democratic country, and that we can share the power and wealth.
What message would you like to send to the Western world? I guess I'm wondering if ISIS is still a concern. Obviously, you're worried about the influence of Turkey. What message do the Kurds have about why security for the Kurdish people is not only important there, but important regionally and globally?
I believe security is a shared responsibility. The fight against ISIS is not over yet. Yes, physically the caliphate has been defeated and destroyed, but between Iraq and Syria, according to intelligence information that we have, around 15 to 17,000 are still there. And let alone those who have been affected by that ideology. We have to have a comprehensive strategy and plan to deal with it. Therefore, it is important that the global coalition against ISIS will continue, but not only militarily to train the Peshmerga forces, train the Iraqi forces so that they are ready to fight back, but also economically to drain their resources, and also socially, educationally, to prepare the people for that, and to address the issues for those who are in the camps, Al-Hol camp in Syria and also the IDP camps in Iraq. We need to address the root causes of the problem, because if people are left alone, if people do not feel that they have a future, then they would join any group. So it's important for the international community to stay engaged, work with those who are on the ground to make sure that we don't allow the resurgence of ISIS or the likes of ISIS. This is one, fighting terrorism. So this is a shared responsibility. Second, the issue of refugees and IDPs. We are ready to play our role, but also the international community has to contribute more so that we can keep the people there, or for those people to go back to their original places before they start to migrate to Europe and elsewhere. So it would be less costly, and it will be more appropriate for these people to be held while there. Kurdistan region is proud of its culture of tolerance and peaceful coexistence. We are proud of the diversity we have. Help us, support us, and strengthen our democratic institutions so that we can have stability, security, and prosperity.
Falah Mustafa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us. For the West Block, I'm Mercedes Stephenson.